You can edit this out.
Yeah.
Welcome to another episode of the Counterculture Podcast. I'm your host, Christian, along with my great friend, co-host Taylor, and we are excited to have one of our great friends back on with us, Rebecca Barrett. Right? You can find her on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok.
No, I got kicked off TikTok.
Oh, she got kicked off TikTok because she's spreading too much misinformation, probably. But you can find her at I am Rebecca Barrett, I think on all platforms, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're excited to have her back and talk to her again. So first, Rebecca, how's it going? How are you doing? What's going on?
I'm doing well. We just moved into our new house, so that
cheers to that.
Yes. I'm really happy to be here, and I have my own studio now. I'm trying to zhuzh it up a little bit. So
I see that with the wallpaper and the lights.
I know,
very nice. Very nice.
So I'm trying my best here, guys. But other than that, I've just been living my best mom life, living my best wife life, and apparently making women upset on the internet. That is my strong suit.
That's what she is the best at, right? And we're gonna really dive in. We're gonna dive into that, right? So, as always, before we get started, make sure you like, subscribe, share the show with your friends, right? You can find us on Instagram at the Counterculture Cast, right? Where you can find all our other social medias and stuff. And then again, also make sure you go check out Rebecca's stuff because it's very trigger inducing. So that means it's very good. It's very good. So. And I guess also I'll say, before we kind of dive into it, obviously, with what recently happened in Nashville, our thoughts and prayers go out with the families and the Christian community there. There's nothing more heartbreaking than the death of children. And it's such a evil way. So in this time, we need a lot of prayer going towards them. Right. Yes. And all Christians across the country, because this is serious. What happened was very serious. But we're going to talk about much more. I think
pleasant things,
but we would be remiss if we didn't at least mention. Obviously, we're not going to ignore that. And again, the tragedy that happened, I can't even begin to even fathom what those families are going through. So, but again, we're going to talk about much more pleasant things because. Again, especially if you've been watching us the last month or so, right, we've really been focusing on family and parenting and things like that. And so it was appropriate to have Rebecca on because her daughter just recently turned a year old, right? So she has gone through her first full year as a mom, right? It flies by, doesn't it? It's just wild, right?
I blinked and she was a year old, and it's not okay. I am not okay.
This is your first, right?
Yes, this is my first.
I don't want to burst your bubble, but it speeds up.
Stop! I know.
So cherish the good and the bad, because if you think year one went quick, and then you throw another one in the mix, and then you blink, you're like, oh, this one's one now, and then you look over, and the other ones are like 5 and 6. You're like, wait, what did I miss? Because I was focusing on the new thing.
Yes.
Yeah, good luck. So.
Well, I'm trying to make these babies as fast as I can. Okay, I'm in my 30s. I'm not a spring chicken anymore, and so I'm trying to make these kids as fast as possible. So
I thought women had all the time in the world to have kids.
No,
right?
no.
They can find themselves and then later have kids.
Yeah, when you're 42, absolutely not. I want my eggs to not be powdered dust, and so.
Oh man.
But yes, motherhood has been, honestly, like, I will say it has been so fast, and I honestly feel like I've been taking in all of these moments. I have a lot of pictures, I have a lot of videos, because everyone told me that it was gonna go this fast.
Yeah.
So I wanted to cherish every moment, and I knew that every day she woke up, she was getting older, and she would learn new things. And honestly, I am so grateful for my daughter. I'm so grateful that I can become a mother and that she gave me that, like, God gave me her to challenge myself and to be a better version of myself because of her, and a
Mm-hmm.
better version of a wife, because I had her. And I'm just so grateful. I get super emotional about it because if you guys know my story, I was the girl that told you I would never have kids. I never wanted to get married. I never wanted kids because I was coping with the thought and the idea that I could possibly end up childless and alone. And so I kind of wanted to nip that in the bud before and kind of ease people into that idea that I could possibly be alone, miserable with no children. But God had other plans for my life, and I'm so grateful that I get to be a mom. And I wake up every single day, and when I see her smiling, sitting in the crib or standing, I'm like, I get to be a mom every day. And there's this viral clip that goes around that's like, it's weird. I'm a mom. Like, I that's so weird to me that I get to be a mom and that
Yeah.
I have a baby and that people trust me to keep her alive. But
It's scary.
but
Yeah.
no, but it's like it is super scary because we think as people we're never ready for kids until they're literally in front of us, and then you have to make it work. But honestly, like, I think I'm the best mom, and I'm not just saying that because, you know, the books tell me or other people tell me. It's because, like, I genuinely love being a mom, and I savor all of these
Bless
moments,
you.
and I honestly, like, my daughter is my entire, like, everything. I love her, and I love her little light, and she just is so she makes us, like, my husband and I, so much better. So that's my gushy, like, I'm a mom.
No, that's awesome.
No, absolutely. I mean, and this is why, for us, and I would think all three of us including this is, you know, why we value parenthood and why we talk about it, right? And why we think people
Yeah.
should do it. Because and I was actually talking to my wife about this um the other day, because our son just turned 1 on Tuesday,
Mhm.
you know, and he's
Happy
our
birthday.
I know. And he was he's our third child, and again, it's just like it just time flies. But I started telling her, like, if I look at who I am now uh versus who I was before I met my wife, definitely, but then even when we first got together, got married, I am a much better husband and father. Obviously become a better father, but I'm a much better husband
Yes.
as as I've been a father, and then also in every other area of my life has seemed to improve in conjunction with that happening.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And and that's where it makes me laugh when people really talk down the idea of being a parent. It's like, what you don't realize is, like, you are not allowing yourself to actually um be able to see what, like, you're actually made of, right? Like, you
Yes.
don't get to see the best potential you can, because it's not until you have people that count on you that you actually, like, it forces you to, like, stretch and do things you would have
Mhm.
never have done before.
Get you out of your comfort zone. Forces
Right.
you to grow up, mature, accept more responsibility.
Exactly.
Like,
And you never go through those things. Like, again, like, for me, I think I think it was a Jordan Peterson video that I saw this in, but he was talking about how, like, until you have children, like, you don't really mature much.
Mhm.
And I think
Mhm.
about that with people that I know growing up, that I knew growing up now, that are the same age, and it's not like they're immature, but certainly when I look at myself and how I carry myself
mhm.
versus them, it's like
Yeah.
two very different worlds. It's
It's
very, very
night and
different.
day.
Yeah. And but of course, I mean, why would you, when you're like 20, 27, 28 years old, single, working like your 60, 80 plus $1,000 job with no responsibility, like why would you
Yeah.
not just go out and drink every night
Well,
or
I
go play
think
golf or whatever?
it's
Like,
almost like a fight or flight situation because you can go through life like always with an exit plan or like this. Well, if
Mhm.
something happens, I can fall back on this or whatever. Once you have a family, once you start that, like people are relying on you. There is no plan
Yes.
B. Like you have to protect them. You have to make this work. You have
mhm,
to provide because there's nobody else. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
right.
I guess that's. I mean, maturity is one thing, but two is like you always got this like, well, I'll try this, and if that doesn't work, then I'll do this, or
Mhm,
if things get hard, I'll just quit. You can't anymore.
right.
It's interesting that you guys say that too, because from the male perspective, like my husband talks about this all the time. He says, if I was single, yeah, I would work hard. And yeah, I'd probably make a good amount of money and, probably spend it on stupid things. But because I have a family and because I have you and River who depend on me, I work 10 times harder. And my purpose is to take care of you guys. Like, that's how I feel fulfilled?
Hmm.
And it's interesting because that's completely different from what I think. Obviously, like I could live off rice and beans, like I don't need to drive fancy cars or do anything like that. But my husband wants to make our lives super comfortable and, you know, put us in situations where we're elevated because he cares so much about our family and where we live and what schools and the cars and all that other stuff, where he was like, if I was single I would probably be like at the bar or doing things I shouldn't be
Hmm.
doing and blowing my money on stupid things. And yes, I would work hard, but that motivation, that drive
Mhm,
that pushes him to wake up and go to work every day and sometimes work late, you know, I know why he's doing it. And I'm super grateful for him and his dedication to our family because I know it's not easy. I worked in the corporate world, I was an entrepreneur. Like, I know what putting in over 80 hours a week looks
mhm,
like.
yeah,
And to do that on top of having a family and being present and still taking his weekends and being with us, like it means a lot to me. Um and again, you know if we were just single, or if we didn't have kids, our life would look a lot different.
Hmm.
But like I tell people, my daughter challenges me. She makes me a better person. She makes me think about other things, right? Like I'm not thinking about myself anymore. I'm thinking about her and my husband, and I think about how to make their lives better, and that challenges me and makes me fulfilled too, because I'm like, wow, I want to raise good children that serve the Lord and that can serve their communities and just be overall good human beings on this planet, because we sure do need them,
mhm,
especially in this world that we live in today. And so, that fills my purpose as a mom, as a wife, because I know that I am educating her. I'm, investing in her, and I want her to get the best outcomes in life. And I also want, I want to inspire her and be like, hey, you know, one day hopefully you'll have a family. And we know how this, we
Hmm.
gotta stick, we all gotta stick together. Our kids gotta, we gotta like figure out how we're gonna marry each other's kids off and stuff like.
Preserve the bloodlines.
No, because I don't trust these woke parents
oh
to with
yeah,
their. I'm just sorry. Maybe I'm a little biased, but we have
no,
to,
I get
like, we're
that for sure.
raising we're raising up people and kids and adults eventually to tackle this world. And it's not getting easier for us out there, and we're going through it now. I can only imagine what our kids are going to go through. And so building them up with that courage and that strength and that determination to face the problems of whatever is going to come in the next 30, 40 years, like,
Mm-hmm.
it's important. So it gives me a lot of purpose as a mom. Um, and it's way better than working at a cubicle or, you know, running a business. For me, I'm like, this is awesome. I get to just hang out with my best friend all day long.
Yeah.
Just wait for terrible twos.
Yeah. No,
Okay.
no, no. It's not
Taylor
till they're
always
3. It's not till they're
I'm a
3.
realist.
No.
Taylor comes in with the wah wah.
Yeah, seriously, dude.
Just
Party foul, party
just
foul.
saying.
But you know what's
One
funny?
kid's good, one kid's like it's gonna test your patience, but it's still a
But
rewarding thing.
It's
that's
life, man.
exactly what it is. Like
Yeah.
I was not the my mom always says, "Well, one of your kids are going to end up just like you with your same temperament. So, just prepare yourself for what I went through." And I was like, "Oh, I'm kicking myself."
No, you have
Yeah.
enough. You'll see like one is, one isn't. Okay,
Mm.
or one is and then two aren't.
Yeah,
Just
my
enough.
Yeah.
son, my oldest son's a psychopath. But anyway, well, it's just one of those things. I'm sitting there just with either one of the kids or just enjoying myself, and all of a sudden I just hear and then boom, just jumps right on me. And it's anyway, it never stops. But you know what I find really interesting, Rebecca, with in conversations with you when it comes to this is you're in the unique position where you've actually been in both worlds, right? Because like
Mhm.
you said, like for a long time you did do the professional corporate world, right? Like you said, you were an entrepreneur. You did own, I think multiple businesses, right? That you had
Yes.
started.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
Mhm.
like you know that, right? And what is so fascinating is again, talking with you every time or hearing you is you had the success that many people, both men and women, really would love to have, right?
Yeah.
Especially women, right? Because they, the whole boss babe and all this kind of stuff, right?
Mhm.
But then you look at it and be like, and not that you like don't care about the things you accomplish. I'm sure you should still be proud of the things you did, but you're like, but it's not anything compared to like what I'm doing now, you
Yeah.
know and that's always my consistent message, especially when I'm talking personally with women in their 20s, whether it's friends, family, whatever. It's like you don't have to not if you want to do things, you can do things in your life. Just don't trick yourself or don't lie to yourself thinking that that's going to be better than being a mom and raising kids, right?
Mhm.
Because that's where you're going to find yourself in a very unhappy place because you're putting this thing on a pedestal
Mhm.
where it's not supposed to be. And so it's
Well,
always going to feel lacking.
exactly. That's the bottom line is that um we are told by society that children and marriage is a jail sentence, and you want your freedom and you want to be a boss babe and you want to climb the corporate ladder because that's going to be the most fulfilling thing in your life. That's the message we're told going to school and getting our higher education. Like,
Mhm.
that's what we're told. Get your master's degree, get your PhD, just spend 10 years in school. That makes complete and utter sense to any sane person.
Right. Waste
Like,
your prime years of your life doing this stuff.
exactly.
Yeah.
And then we're also told stay focused, right? Stay focused on your tasks, stay focused on your career, on your education. Don't date around. Uh, you know, don't entertain a possible husband that could come along and marry you after your undergrad and maybe go with you towards, your masters. Like, don't entertain that because that's going to distract you from your greater purpose, which is working for someone at Google making spreadsheets. Like, that to me is the thing that boggles my mind. You know what I mean? And like I tell women all the time, you can choose these career paths. You can do whatever you want. However, we as women have to keep in the back of our mind and keep almost reminding ourselves that that is not our true purpose. Like, that is not our ultimate purpose here. For some women, that might be, right? For some women, having kids or not getting married is something that they want to do. right? But for the majority of women, we have to lie to ourselves. We have to like use these coping mechanisms like antidepressants, anti-anxiety medications,
Oh man. Yeah.
alcohol, drugs, all of these things to suppress what we're actually feeling inside, which is that desire to be married, that desire to have kids. But we have the chatter of the world around us saying, no, girl, you got to get that money. You got to be at the top. You need to sit at the table. And that's an issue, right? When you
Mm-hmm.
can tell a woman, oh, you can have it all, you can be it at all, that's actually not good for women. That is actually
Yeah.
not good for our psyche, because when we don't achieve those things, we spiral. We go into these
Yeah.
depressive holes. We
Yeah.
go into these anxiety attacks. Well, why am I not showing up the same way as this woman? Why am I like, we see it on Instagram all the time,
Oh
right?
yeah.
So how how can we say that that is the prescription, that is what we should be striving for, right? This cosmopolitan lifestyle, this cosmo fantasy world, that if you know the story about Cosmo, they made up this imaginary woman who can do it all, have it all, be the Sex in the City lifestyle. That's all made up. It's a fantasy. It was
Mm-hmm.
like concocted by a bunch of executives at Cosmopolitan to sell women a dream, right? So, what I'm landing at is that, yes, you can work towards these things, but we can't ignore our actual hopes and desires and
Mhm.
wants. If we
Mm-hmm.
want a family, if you think, hi, I want a family, I want to be married someday, and be realistic about your biology as a woman, then you'll be okay, right? Because you will work your job, you will, you know, have your career or get your education, but you're not going to neglect possibly opening yourself up to a spouse, or you know what I mean, like
Yeah.
you're not going to shut that down immediately, that thought immediately, like a lot of women do.
Mm-hmm.
um you're going to be open to that idea of, hey, there could possibly be, uh, you have options in your undergrad, you have options in your master's, right?
Mm-hmm.
University is where a lot of people meet each other.
Right.
So we can't just be in these like we can't have this tunnel vision. And I think a lot of women end up there, and then they wake up in their 30s and they're like, shit, there's no one here. I
Mm-hmm.
have no man. I have to go freeze my eggs now, because if I don't freeze my eggs now, like what's going to happen when I'm 35, 38? Like
Mm-hmm.
that's when some of them start waking up. Some of them don't wake up until they're 38, and
Yeah.
that's unfortunate. Um, so that's my that's my
Well,
spiel on that.
what's interesting too is because we're singing now where I think now for the first time ever, I think what is it, like 50% of women over the age of 30 aren't married with children. I
Yeah.
think,
Mhm.
right? And when you look at that, the first thing I thought when I heard that was that is a lot of women who are very very upset
Yeah.
because whether they express it or not, honestly, is a different thing. But they're upset because they have bought into the lie,
Mhm.
right? That we're talking about this cosmopolitan feminist ideal, like you said, just kind of like fantasy, right? It was made up, right, by again a bunch of executives like you said at Cosmo that were just trying to sell magazines to women.
Yeah.
That's all they care. I mean, that's all they care about, right? And so we've created this false idea of what's possible. And I think you made a great point. Is that in a kind of a sad one, which was again for a lot of women when they continuously don't live up to that, they feel like they're insufficient. They feel like there's something
Mhm.
wrong with them, right? And granted, I mean, on a base level, right? we all have anxieties, right? About
Yes.
how we aren't going to maybe accomplish the things we want to, and every person has their own story, and success happens for everyone at different times. If if you do the right things, but when you have this idea of right what it's supposed to be, and you continuously can't hit it, right? I mean, it's just depressing. When, like you said,
Yeah.
like you're just unhappy with yourself. And what I'm curious to see what you think, because sometimes I know for myself, I feel like I'm in a bubble because I grew up in a very um, Orthodox Catholic, not only family myself, but then like the community we live. I mean, the church I went through all like from kindergarten all the way through high school, right? And so a lot of the kids I grew up with were, you know, it was married for multiple years. Everyone had a bunch of siblings, right? So for me, I think I know I can have a skewed perspective, right? But because in my community growing up, it was you got married young and you had kids, right? Honestly, because we was a
Mm.
very Orthodox Christian perspective. But do you feel like we're starting to see a shift where women are actually starting to realize sooner that if they want to have families, they got to do? Because I feel like when I look at certain things that a lot of women are starting to kind of catch on to that, right? That they're like, oh, like, yeah, maybe if I want to have a family, maybe I should do this now. Like, do you think there is kind of that shift happening at this point, even though we see, like, again, like that stat of 50% of women over 30? I feel like there might be a little bit of a shift towards the positive of people thinking, like, oh, I got to get married and have kids.
I think that the pendulum has swung so far left, and people are kind of fed up with that. And I think that Gen Z, yeah, Gen Z is, I'm a millennial, so Gen Zers.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think Gen Z is kind of, it's split. You know,
Mm-hmm.
people are still trying to, we have a lot of this like gender ideology stuff that is being taught. There's a lot of weird things happening, but I think that they're yearning for more traditional lifestyles and a more traditional path. And just the conversations that I have online can, you can see that there's movements like the stay-at-home girlfriend trend and the stay-at-home wife and mom trend, which are
The,
not
the, the evil
trends.
trad wife.
Yeah, which are not, they're not actually trends. They're just lifestyles that people live.
Right.
And the fact that they're getting a lot of attention on social media is a good thing because women can now see both sides, right? They
Mm-hmm.
can see, oh, if I go down this path, like this boss babe path, this is what a lot of women end up looking like, right? Or I can go down this, more traditional path, but it's finding that happy medium because the thing about online and social media and even just like where I sit, there's no nuance, right?
Oh,
It's
yeah.
all about this is how it's done. You have to do it this way. But that's not how life
That's not real
works.
life. Yeah.
Yeah, real life is actually a very nuanced thing. You can give, I don't even want to call them prescriptions, but you can give advice more generally. Like I give more general advice, but I always say eat the meat, spit out the bones. Take what is good and
Mm-hmm.
apply it to your life and do away with the stuff that doesn't serve you or doesn't serve your relationship, right?
Mm-hmm.
As you guys, well, maybe we'll get into it, but I've been in some hot water with some of the viral clips that I've put out, especially regarding sex in marriage. And I don't know if you want to talk about it right now.
Yeah. Let's just let's
Okay.
just dive into it. Yeah. Just go. Let's
Okay.
just go to that. Yeah. Yeah.
So so we live in 2023 where it is offensive to tell women that are wives to have sex with their husbands, right? To
Just trigger inducing.
like you married this man, you said I do. You
That's
said
a
you're going to
thing.
spend you said you're going to spend the rest of your life with this person, right? And it's apparently triggering and offensive and I'm promoting a very dangerous message by telling wives to not deny their husbands sex. But on the other hand, we have a narrative, we have this, pro sexual revolution, sexual, liberation
Liberation, yeah.
movement where literally you go on these podcasts and you see what women are saying out loud to millions of
I
viewers.
know. Oh my god, I know.
They have 300, 400, 500 body counts. You're telling me that it's okay to tell women, oh, not only is it okay, it's empowering to tell women to have sex with whoever they want, whenever they want, with no consequences, with no repercussions, and it's safe, cool, trendy, whatever.
But not
That's
only
all.
just women. Who are the ones who are more clicky and viral? They like to watch all the trending stuff. It's young people. It's young
Yes.
women. It's young girls, like people in high
Yes.
school, middle school. Like that's what's trending, and that's what pushes these all these views and clicks. So the scary thing is, it's not just you know boss babe going to work who's watching this on the
Mhm.
subway. It's people on the school bus on the way to school watching this and
Yeah.
having these girls talk about body counts. That's what's scary to me.
Mm.
No, absolutely. And we definitely live in a different world than what the teenagers and the adolescents live today. First of all, I didn't grow up with a phone. I'm like
Mhm.
an elder millennial, okay? Um, I'm one of the old folks. I only got a cell phone when I got to high school, and like that's when Facebook was coming out and all this other stuff. So social
Mhm.
media wasn't a thing like it is today where
Right.
people are Snapchatting nudes to each other during class, and you can have a phone with you during your class. Like that was something that never even was a thing previously, right? We
Yeah,
didn't have
right.
cell phones in class. What are you talking about? Or even if we did have cell phones, they weren't sophisticated enough to do anything except playing Snake. So,
Right. The best thing we had, or you're still young. You just had a birthday yesterday, mind you.
oh,
Do you want to
happy
say your age? Come on.
birthday!
Yes, I'm
29.
yeah, I know, I know,
Christian,
I
you're
know.
He
so
hasn't even
you're
crossed the
so
3-0.
young.
Meanwhile, if I wanted to kind of get a little, I wouldn't even say spicy because I was a good kid, but like it was AIM, America Online.
Yes.
You had the
Oh my
dial up
gosh.
thing, the
Dial-up.
I
broadband,
was I was doing dial yeah.
whatever. Maybe in middle school, but we were in high school,
Oh,
okay?
stop. Oh, get
Yeah.
out of here. I'm not that much younger.
And
Come
then
on,
you would,
man.
if you were to kind of start flirting or something, it was on the family computer, wherever
Yes.
that was. You weren't like,
In the middle of the living
Living
room.
room,
Like
yes.
yeah.
so
It was like,
crazy.
it
I
was
would
like,
have to
what are you doing over there? I see you're giggling, or you got a little quiet over there. Can I? Yeah.
Everything all right?
You start tabbing out of the screen, like,
yeah, on
no.
your desktop. We didn't have laptops, okay? So
Right, yeah.
it's it's a completely different world that we are living in today and how the youth deals with this stuff. So I do think that they struggle a lot with what is right,
Hmm.
what
Mm,
is
yes.
morality, what is you know I don't think like I didn't know what a condom was until I was 17 years old. Like I'm such a prude. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, "Condom? Like, condominium? Like, what?"
I
I
think you
was
mean condo.
no,
Where's
yeah,
the
like,
why do you have an M?
yeah. Like, condo? Like, you guys I had a friend that was like, "Oh, yeah, we were blowing up, condoms on the bus." And I was like, "Condoms? Like, you were blowing up like, what? That's so dangerous. Like, why were you doing that?" And she's like, "No, you idiot. Condoms. You don't know what a condom is?" I was like, no, what
Like,
is
no, I'm
that?
17.
I was like, no, I'm 17. I go to a Christian school. Why do you know about this? um, so yeah, I was also very much a prude. But what I want to say is that kids today are very much exposed and
Mhm.
hypersexualized. And, there's girls that are graduating from high school and turning 18, teasing their OnlyFans account And
Oh, I know. Oh
and
my God.
that's crazy to me. And so I do think that there is a desire for these young kids to figure it out. Like, I do think that that's what they're doing. However, because they grew up on social media, everything that comes out of their mouth is like word vomit for the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
so people clip that, right? People take that, and you have podcasts like the Whatever Podcast or Fresh and Fit or Just Pearly Things. And I mean, I think Whatever Podcast and Fresh and Fit probably pull a younger crowd and probably get younger women on their panels. But like, these girls are 17, 18, 19 years old talking about they have 50 bodies by the time that they're 18, 19. Like, that's just sad to me.
Yes,
So,
that is.
and I don't think they understand what that means for their future, because they are so young and they're not thinking about what that means for their future, where it's like, oh, I saw a clip of you when you were 18 years old on this podcast when you're talking about 50 bodies. Like, how many bodies you have now? Like,
Yeah,
that's
it's like
must
you're
be
25.
ratchet. Like,
Yeah, it's like you're 25 now. So if I do the math,
yeah,
we've
if
more
I
than
do the
doubled
math.
the number.
But not
And
even
so,
that, like that evidence where the internet is forever. Just, I mean, when you start courting somebody, that's one of the kind of things you kind of start to, as you get to know each other, you kind of ask. It's a
Well,
curiosity.
it matters. Like
It
those things
does.
do matter. Like they
Some
eh,
people say it
the,
shouldn't, but no guy is
but the
gonna
thing is,
ask a
it
girl
should.
and not
Well, yeah,
care.
because they find it gross. You're like, that's disgusting, right?
Well,
yeah.
They may not say it outright, but that's what they think. And that's what's always funny when they bring up the body count. Some are bold enough to actually say it, but a lot of
well,
times they'll say,
they're proud of it.
Yeah, they're
what's
proud
funny
of
is
it.
some girls will say, well, body counts don't matter. And then they'll get asked about it, and they're like, well, I mean, like
And they
for
try to
other people,
justify it.
yeah, they say
Yeah.
other people it doesn't matter, but I mean, I'm not gonna say what my body count is because they know it's embarrassing,
Well,
right? And
I honestly think that no one should be saying anything about their body counts online. Like, that's a discussion that you have
It's like
one
doxing
on
yourself
one.
online.
Yeah, it's literally doxing yourself. Like, these things were understood in dating as we got older, like, my
hmm
husband never asked me what my body count was. We had eventually had talked about it because of premarital counseling. Like, we talked about everything, you know what I
Mhm.
mean?
hmm
And so we knew each other's everything. I knew about all his stuff, he knew about all my stuff, and we flushed it out, right? We had that talk. Like, we had that talk. And
hmm
so I think that is something that you should have with your partner. I don't think that people should necessarily just willingly tell people online, hey, my body count's like 500, and like, I met mine on Omegle and like through a drive through, and they do these body count challenges on TikTok, and they make little stupid things about it. I'm like, that is
hmm
so dumb. Don't
Yeah.
do that. Don't do that. Why? Because now there's a record of that for your
Yeah.
future husband or whoever you end up with, if you end up with anyone,
hmm
because you've literally given yourself to 100 people. Your ability to pair bond has completely diminished. You
hmm
have no ability, like, your body now rejects whatever connection you're going to have to your spouse, because, like, not only have you given it up to 100 people, but you can't get to that point where like oxytocin is now reduced, your serotonin is now reduced, like all these things that like get you to the point where you're connecting with that person and like
hmm
loving that person for the rest of your life. You're going to think about Chad and Brad and, Brock, that banged you before, like, oh, his this was bigger and that
Oh,
was
he was a
better
better
and blah blah
lay, or
blah.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And so and what happens from there is you start questioning your relationship, you start questioning the marriage, you start resenting your husband. Oh, he doesn't give it to me like that. I don't want to have sex with this guy. I mean, it's just bad news. It's just not good for people to be sexually promiscuous, and then on top of that, putting it all out there for everyone to see whenever they feel like it. And they're like, let me just research this girl's name. Boop, 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 boop. Like,
and it's like, oh, she was a recurring guest on the whatever podcast.
Yeah, yeah.
Stay away
Like
from
she,
her.
like, oh, she has like 100 clips on social media about her body count. Great. That's
No,
what
thanks.
I really want.
Yeah, absolutely.
She's gonna be
my wife. Yeah,
oh,
no
my
thanks.
wife. I'm
Right.
good off that.
Yeah. So one thing I wanted to ask you about the viral clip that you had, because I again having a discussion with my wife Christina, because well, she's again a fangirl, so she anytime she's watching a video, she's like, you need to watch this. Right? Have you seen this? Look at this. And one thing I thought was interesting, again, in the response to that viral clip about, again, sex in the, in this instance, in the context of marriage, which for us, we think that's where it's best suited, right? What I think, I'm curious to see what your thought on this is, because this is what I got from it, is these women that are having these visceral reaction to the suggestion that they should be open to sex when their husband wants to. What I perceived it as is they think that if they allowed their husband that freedom, that their husband would take advantage of them. And so I'm like, it's so sad to me that these women think so little of their husband, that their husband would, they maliciously believe, I can't give that to him because if I give him that, he will take advantage of me. It's like, you think so little of your husband,
right?
That which in reality, right, if that were the case, you would find, right, he probably wouldn't ask you as much as you think he would.
Exactly.
Right? Because you're probably just
you want what you can't have, kind of thing. And if it's always available, then you're.
But again, but what's also funny about the reaction too, because again, what is it, like 4,000 comments on the clip or something ridiculous?
More than that, yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's probably a 5,000 or 6,000 at this point, right? What's funny to me is, of course, I think the stats is like 1 out of 4 marriages are sexless. Something like that,
something
right?
Like that.
So let's say like half of the commenters are actually married women. It's like you could line them up and pick out 1 out of 4. You're not having sex at all with your husband.
You're not happy.
You're not doing
marriage.
it at all, right? So you think like you're complaining about this. You don't even do it. Period.
Guys are very easy to keep happy.
Exactly, and that's the thing. Oh my gosh, this is the.
I just don't like the gatekeeping of it. Like women, especially when they finally get a ring on their finger and they finally get married.
Well, women are the gatekeepers of sex, and that's okay. But that's I mean, it
but
makes
the River
sense.
Nile like dries up the moment they get married. It's like they feel like then they can dangle this.
Well,
blowjobs are never going to happen again. Say goodbye to those boys. He's like it's a whole stereotype. It's a stigma.
But I also say, I'm like, but you were slopping it up before you were married.
What happened?
Yeah, Tom, Dick, and Jerry. So I don't know.
Tom and Jerry.
So see, but that's what I'm saying. Like, although like the idea of women being the gatekeepers of sex, it makes sense that yes, that's fine. But yes, to your point, once you get into marriage, if you do this whole like
it's like they wipe their hands or like my work is done.
Houdini, like I'm a new person. It's like, before the ring was on, like you said, like before the ring was on, this was no issue. Now all of a sudden, what's the problem now?
Well, that's the other thing too, especially for men, I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but like my husband says that he sees me the same way that he saw me when he first met me. And like, I've obviously aged, you know what I mean?
I like my wife more.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
I like my wife more now than I did when I first met her.
No. I'm saying like by like aesthetics, like he sees that same like, whatever. He sees that same feeling that he felt about me when he met me, he feels for me now. That's kind of where I'm getting at.
Are you talking butterflies? Are you talking space attraction?
Yes, space attraction.
Well, it's funny.
I would say more so.
That is an absolute. But for I know for me with and Christina, like it kind of freaks me out. I'm like, why am I more attracted to you now than I
But
when we were met?
it's not
It's
like
just
just the love grows, because you would hope that would be true. The
you're
more it
right.
Yes.
goes on, the more you
But
get to know each other.
honestly, physical
Attraction,
attraction
yeah.
is even
And
as, I mean, again, we're 6 years in. I mean, almost 7 years into marriage, and everything about it is better now than when we
exactly.
first
And
met.
even the
Everything.
sex, like, let's keep it a buck here. Like, that's the thing about the church that they don't like to talk about sex. Like,
I
sex
know
in the
it's so
context,
stupid.
sex in the context of marriage is a beautiful thing, and it can be so sensual. It can be hot. It can be like, I tell people, I'm like, I'm my husband's whore. Like, I'm so sorry. Like that, I know it sounds bad, but like,
I'm out
I'm
of whiskey.
yeah, sorry. But like, I know that's hard to take, because like we
But it
want to be
shouldn't
on these
be.
like pedestals, like as the church, oh, we can't talk about it, like sex
Right.
has to be like this weird thing. No, in the context of marriage, like between husband and wife, it should be hot. It should be like, it can be all of these things, you know what I mean? Like there are
But why is
some
it such
days.
a turn off to society to say that about your husband? But to
Exactly.
talk about it with some 50 Shades of
Bec-
Grey or
well,
some
because
all the
culture.
Netflix shows or anything, it's like this desirable thing whenever it's a
Well,
stranger, or if
because
when if it's a fling.
culturally, marriage is seen now as a institution
A
that
place
must
where you go
be.
to die. Like
Well,
it's
it's not
just
Yes.
just, but it's seen as an institution that must be torn down, right? Because
Eradicated.
yeah, because we're in this era where, again, when it comes from the left perspective, which dominates the culture, right? Any institution must be torn down, right? So
Yes.
marriage must be torn down, right? And of
Mhm.
course, you know, it's all about the patriarchy, blah blah. So that even points it not only to marriage, but then also the husband.
Mhm.
Like you have to degrade the husband. You have to degrade the
Oh,
idea uh,
100%.
of what a husband is, what he means to a household, right? And so that's what it narrows down to. That's why you have socially, right? Again, to Rebecca's point, like if a girl's going and sleeping with every guy, going out to the club every weekend, she's sexually liberated.
Oh,
But
yeah.
a woman who has a stable relationship with a husband who takes care of her, provides a home
And we're
and a
always having
lifestyle and everything.
sex.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
that's a
but
problem.
yeah, it's like
how
that's
dare you?
How dare
somehow,
you?
yeah, it's somehow offensive. It's somehow
It's
oppressive.
like an ick. Like the single girls don't want to hear that. It's like, okay, stop talking about your marriage. But anyways, I hooked up with Johnny last night. It's like,
Yeah.
it's weird when you talk about what happens like within your four
Or
walls. It's
it's
like
even
they
better.
don't
It's
want
like
to.
I don't know what happened. Like that guy I hooked up with last weekend, like he won't answer my texts. I don't know what's happening. It's like, well, I can tell you what's happening. Like he's talking to
Yeah.
someone else, right? And
Well,
he'll booty call you at 3 a.m. whenever he feels like it.
yeah, Christian, and to your point too, I think, when I'm talking about these women in the comment section, there's a lot of different scenarios going on here, right? I would say the main one is that there is just a level of disrespect and like no honor and no loyalty from these women, right? They, like you said, it's their job to put their husbands down. They don't want to elevate their husbands. They don't want to breathe life into their husbands. They want to keep their boot on the heads of their husbands. They want to keep them down. They want to keep them, you know, what I don't get it, because
Well, it's like
here's
it's the toxic reality of it's taken the saying "happy wife, happy life" and twisted it into
Just giving them all the power.
some perverted uh um situation. As I think is what it's turned into. Right? Is
yeah,
this is weird? Yeah.
but on top, and so like on top of that too, because a lot of these women that are younger, that are getting married, right? They do have a lot of bodies under their belt, right? They do have a high body count. And unfortunately, like I said, there's not going to be adequate pair bonding there. And that's just like chemistry, right? That's like our body's
It's
chemistry. Like we
biology.
can't,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
like you can't neglect that. Like the level of oxytocin is not the same as if you were marrying your virgin bride. It's just the truth, like
Hmm.
I don't know if you married, like if you guys were both virgins or not, but like that's that's the best outcome for marriage if both are virgins and they have sex on their wedding day, because you don't know anything else, right? You don't know anyone else. You've learned together, you've learned each other's body. But if you have 500 bodies under your belt by the time you're 30, we have a lot of issues, right? And then on top of that, you have a lot of women that have hormonal issues. They have issues, with PCOS. They have issues with taking birth control for, 10,
Over a decade.
15,
Yeah.
yeah, like a long time, a long period of their life. Then they get in a marriage, right? They marry their husband. They're still on birth control. They're like, let's try for a child. Boom, off birth control. They look at their husband and they're completely repulsed by their husbands. They don't want to touch them. They don't want to be around them. They're repulsed by their smell, their breathing, everything. And we're surprised when that woman is like, who is this person? Like,
Yeah.
who is this person that I married, that I've been with for my, I don't know, let's give it 5 years, right? All
Yeah.
on birth control. So hormonally, they're jacked up. Women are jacked up emotionally, and, chemically, we're jacked up. And then in society, we're telling women, yeah, your husband is supposed to be like the bottom of the barrel. If you take care of your husband, he's going to abuse the power and he's going to ask for more and he's going to be the tyrant of your house. When in all reality, what does happen if you do give your husband sex, and like when people say like your husband asks for sex, no, no, no. Like, this is what you don't understand. There's no asking. I said it in the video because like that makes the most logical sense for people. But like sex, like the way it's initiated is like through looks, through
nonverbal, it's
touch.
physical,
Exactly.
things like that.
Yeah, you never
like,
go
body
up
language.
To, you never go to, I never go back, Christina, can I have sex with you right now? Like, it's not how it
exactly.
happens.
Like, I think people have like, I don't think people
There's like
use
3 brain
sense.
cells in the entire comment section, so you got to
Exactly.
remember that.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that too.
I think I don't know if I want to clarify that in another video, but I'm like, if you've been in a relationship, you would know what that would look like, right? Like at some point, if you have been in a sexless marriage, men are asking, like, let's keep it a buck here, right? They'd be
Oh,
like,
well,
No, you get to a
yeah.
point where you actually have to.
yeah,
And it changes the dynamic too. It makes it feel like it's more of like a
it feels
you're
like
asking
it's
permission.
It's a chore.
icky. Yeah,
It's a chore.
it's
It
like
becomes a chore,
icky,
yeah.
And if it does end up happening, it feels like you're almost like, am I taking too long? Is this person even interested? Because I even
Yeah.
had to ask. It's taking the fun out of it. And then that's eventually the guy's going to resent that. He's just going to stop asking. He's going to wait for it to happen organically. And then when it doesn't, suddenly these women are surprised that, if it's been like a year and there's no sex, why is this guy turning to pornography? Why is this guy turning to
hooking up with
adultery?
Becky at the office?
Hey, I'm Becky.
Oh yeah, sorry. Sorry.
Case in point. No.
But you know what I mean, right? Like then they're like,
but they're so surprised. They're like, how could he do this?
Like, how could he go have sex with the secretary? Like, I don't know, because she kind of said something nice to him.
Women
you ever thought about that?
Women are like cats.
Nice.
Men are like dogs. Men are very loyal. We're simple creatures. Throw us a bone. It doesn't matter if there's meat on it or not. We're happy you paid us attention. We're very easy. I mean, yes, you throw the ball one time. Are we going to want to play 20 times? Eventually, we're going to tire ourselves out. We won't want to touch the ball for a while.
Yeah.
But, that may happen. You start giving us free range of sex.
I mean,
we may be,
I'll let you know if I ever get to the point when I say, no, I'm really not interested.
But here's the thing too, like, and I also, even in that video, I'm telling people, I'm like, it's not like my husband is asking every day. Sometimes he's tired. Sometimes I'm tired. Sometimes we look at each other and be like, not today. You know what I mean? But it's not like.
But you didn't deserve to give them the full range of every scenario. You just gave them.
It's
and
like,
they just took that one thing and ran with it.
But it's like the constant, what I was trying to get at to the 3 brain cells that are in the comment section is that a constant denial of sex builds resentment.
Right.
Yes.
Like, and will eventually lead to pornography, will eventually lead to cheating, will eventually, possibly lead to
Divorce even. Yeah.
divorce.
Yeah.
And like, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that out. Like, that's the thing about this whole situation. It's like, I'm not telling women, go be your husband's slave, go be a sex slave, because that was something that was very, I guess, popular in the comments. Go be his sex slave, or let him rape you, or let him be his doormat. I never said those words. Those words never came out of my mouth, because you have to have a level of trust. If you said I do to your husband, right? And I get there are some bad men, and I get that like you can get married and things can switch up, right? But for the
Yes.
majority of
Exactly.
Right.
relationships and marriages, that's not the case. Okay? And so when you have a comment section that is always leaning towards the worst case scenarios, you got to look at what trauma those people have gone through, because
Right.
they're projecting their mistrust, insecurity, sadness, probably something happened to them that they haven't gone through therapy about. Because I don't look at my husband, I trust my husband 100% with my body. I would give him my body. Like,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? I'm not sitting here like, oh, if I have sex with him tonight, he's gonna misuse me and he's gonna treat me like crap. No, he's probably gonna treat you better and give you everything that you ever wanted, thought about, or desired. How about that? Like, how about we think about that as a result, right? If my husband is constantly getting affection and love, he's going to give me that back in return, and probably with some extra, right? And he's probably be
Mhm.
like,
Right.
you want to go on a trip? You want to do this? Let's go do that.
By the
Let's
way, I
have
fixed
fun
that
together.
sink and mowed the yard
Exactly.
and everything. You don't have to
Yeah,
ask and like bug all the time.
exactly.
Those little things that start to like annoy you throughout the day to where you're going to deny him in the evening because he hasn't, he didn't do
Exactly.
this. If you're get ahead of the curve, if you do that, and we've talked to even Carla and stuff about this too, is like if you do it sooner, you'll notice you won't have to ask and those things get done. And then you're all both happier throughout the day because you haven't annoyed each other. I don't know.
Exactly.
It's not
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I
rocket
don't
science. We keep saying it, but
and
it's not.
I also think too, I think this whole like women need to be revved up. Like, I think we cater too much to women and like our feelings, and disregard what men feel. And that's coming from just seeing how even the church, and I hate bringing that up, but it's so true. Like, I'm a part of this marriage group every Saturday, and we hold ourselves accountable. We have a group, like I am in a group with like people that have been married for like 20 plus years, 30 plus years, and I hear their stories. I'm like, okay, there is hope. Like, if they can
Mhm.
make it through some of that, I can make it through my marriage. And it gives me, it like inspires
Yeah,
me.
lifts you up. Yeah.
However, like even in these groups and meetings and stuff like that, it's always catered towards the woman, like how
Yes.
she feels. Oh, like he doesn't do any. I'm like, baby girl, what are you doing? How are you investing in your marriage? What are you doing? Like, you're not this, you know, angel that does nothing wrong. That, you know, people are like, oh, well, he never picks up after himself. Well, I'm sure you do something that annoys the crap out
Have
of
you
your
seen your makeup
husband.
counter on the Euro side of the
Exactly.
vanity? You're like,
Like,
but his toothbrush was a little askew. Like, oh,
right? It's so I think that we also as women need to keep that in the back of our mind. Like, you think you're, you know, just messed up because of your husband and all the crap that he does to you. If he told you what you do to him, but he doesn't vocalize it because he doesn't want to hurt your feelings, that's
mhm.
the truth. You know what I mean? Because I'm
Mhm.
sure my husband can literally be like, you don't do this, you don't do that, right? You probably should, you burnt that chicken a little bit, but I still ate it. You know what I mean? So, like, I'm sure that he has a lot to say. And if I said, "Hey, babe, like, could you tell me?" He would probably still sugarcoat it for me so that I don't feel so bad, you know? So I think that we need to do better as women and as wives
Mhm.
in marriage, because culture does cater to us and says, "Oh, you're everything's fine with you. It's never your fault. It's always his fault. He's the one to blame. You should leave him." When you're not the angel yourself, and
No, and
you're
I think that's
always
an old
going
school
to be
mentality, though.
it.
What?
I think that's an old school mentality. You always say like the old married couple, like, what's the secret? And like, happy wife, happy life, and all those little wives' tales. I
Yeah,
mean, they're even
I
called wives' tales. You know,
well, I
Yeah,
think well, I think you say it's I mean, I don't think it's old fashioned, right? Because I do think,
or
because
traditional.
the because and again, Carla says this right. America's favorite mom.
I love
Um,
Carla. She
who,
literally gives me so much inspiration in my life. I'm like, thank God I have you in my life. Seriously,
yeah,
Carla.
yeah, she is the best. But she was talking about, you know, it's about, invest. I mean, again, I guess the bigger point is that you have to both be investing
In
in
each other.
the marriage, right?
Yeah,
Equally, and it's not just. I don't think it's just like what I was saying is that it's not just like wives' tales, right? Happy wife, but it's just
Well, I was just talking about how it's leaning. Like they were talking about. I mean, the point you're making is good. Like we've talked about this with Carla too. The more you put in, the more effort and energy you put into your spouse, the more you're going to get back. You shouldn't have to
exactly.
focus on yourself. But to
mhm.
the point that you were making is, and I was kind of saying too, is like you go into these groups and all these, these boomers or whatever have you. It's like always like you just cater to whatever she wants. You do everything she asks, and then she'll be happy, and then you may get this. But this is
Well, what it
2023. It needs
goes
to be
to
gender
is
equality. If you want it even, it's got to be even.
well, what it goes to is you can even I think we can take it to a spiritual place. And I've said this before is when you look at the theological definition of love, it's willing the good of another,
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
right? And obviously there's different types of love depending on who you're talking about. But if you just look on that base level, willing the good of another, right? It's what can I do to make my wife's life a little easier today, right? And
Hmm.
then from the wife's perspective, what can I do to make my husband's life
Yeah.
easier, right? And if you are both have that energy in doing that, right? You're both gonna be very happy because you're both
Exactly.
constantly serving each other, right?
Hmm.
In your marriage, right? And
Hmm.
that will breed health, health. I mean, like, and it's all different but depending on the marriage, right? Like for me, I know like it's some nights it's cleaning the kitchen, some nights it's for me it's taking care of the kids, getting them bathed, doing this, doing that.
Hmm.
It's actively serving each other,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because part of it, it's you're in this together, right? We're a team. We're in this together. We're taking care of it, right? But it comes with again, ultimately, trust, right? You have to trust that your
Hmm.
spouse is going to do the right thing, right? And sometimes you have to let them do things, and it's maybe not the way you want to do it, right? Or would want it to be done, but you have to allow them just to do it that way and then be grateful, right? I think a big
Yes.
thing that is missing not only in marriages but just in general is like people lack gratitude
Yeah.
towards people around them, right? If you have the attitude of being grateful for your wife, for your husband, right, or whatever, like you will just be happier and
Oh,
you'll actually
100%.
become grateful. You'll be like, wow, like this is actually awesome. And you're always gonna have issues. We all got issues, right? That's why again when people like share them online, I'm like, first off, I don't need your issues. I got mine, right? I don't
Yeah.
I don't need. But it's like we all got them.
Well,
Who are you crying to? I mean,
it's
we live in
funny.
a crappy age, but it's just crazy to me.
It's funny to me because you say that. It's like women, I watch these TikTok videos and these women are crying saying like, "Oh, I divorced my husband and now I'm on this like dating out in the dating world and these men are crap and like blah blah blah." I'm like, "Because the grass is greener where you water it. It's not like
Right,
on the other
right.
side." You know what I mean? There you like I hear the same issues from women about their husbands. He doesn't take out the trash. He never does what I tell him to do. He's not present in our family. So what do you need to do as a wife in order for to build in that lack, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
as a woman, if my husband is not present in our family, why is that? Is it because I'm nagging him anytime he walks in the door? Every time he takes a breath, I'm saying, "Oh, you need to do it like this. You need to do it like that." Like, look at yourself and what you are like projecting onto your husband and what you are, you know, how you are are you like, I asked myself, like, am I breathing life into my husband, into my marriage,
Mm-hmm.
or am I causing chaos and disaster? And sometimes I have to catch myself. I'm like, you know, I was a nasty person today, and I go and I apologize and we hug it out because, there are hard days. He comes home from work and it's been a hard day at the office, and there are days that my daughter doesn't want to nap, and I'm going through growth spurts and stuff like that. And so, like, yeah, there are days that are challenging,
For
absolutely,
sure.
but everyone goes through that. And if we look at like how we're responding to our husbands, to our wives, we need to say, like, why does she want to have sex with me? Like, am I doing something? Like, we have to look at ourselves and internally check
Mm-hmm.
what we're saying, how we're reacting, how we're responding. Are we responding in anger and resentment? Like, am I coming off like I don't care, or that, you know what I mean? You have to, whatever the situation is, you have to look at why that person is not responding in the way that you would think that they would respond. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so we have to look at ourselves and what we're doing, because honestly, I think it's w- like, I always will take ownership of my stuff. You know what I mean? Like, if my husband doesn't want to be home, why is that? Is it because of me? Clearly, because I'm yelling at him or whatever. Like, you have to look at what that scenario looks like in your home, but you need to, like, dial that in and figure that out, because there's a reason why that person is not doing what you think that they should be doing, or what they
Mm-hmm.
said, or the expectation was set, right?
Hmm.
When you guys talked it out, oh, he's not doing those chores. Oh, she's not, cooking, or she's not sleeping with me. Those are expectations that were hopefully talked about before you got married, and then constantly revisited, right? Why aren't these things met? Well, I would gather that that falls onto the shoulders of the person, the other spouse, because there's a reason why they're not responding the way that you think that they should be responding.
Mm-hmm.
I know I like kind of went on a tangent, but
Yeah, no, there's like resentment
Right.
here.
Well,
There's,
yeah.
you know,
yeah.
Yeah. Well, then also, like you said, well, part of it is like pro tip for anyone listening. I mean, getting some sort of premarital counseling, I think, is absolutely crucial to get married. To get married without it is like
Yes.
crazy. But if you know, if this was you and you did get married without it, you should at least go like buy the 5 love languages or something and like, you know, try to
there's
work things
there's
out.
there's
But
hope, but
well, yeah, I'm not saying like you're
ideally
not
you'd think
doomed or whatever,
you'd start
but
with
you
the
need to be able to work
compatible
those
and a
things
healthy
out.
relationship.
Yeah. But again, a lot of it, just like anything in life, it starts with personal responsibility and self reflection of what am
Yes.
I doing right, and how can I make it better. And here's the thing: is when you do that, whether in marriage or anything in life, if you can have that sort of self um, responsibility and self awareness, every area of your life will become better
So
because
much better.
you will be able to solve the issues in your life because you'll realize that you are actually the root of most problems. Because here's the one key factor that is the same in every problem you have. It is you. You are the
You can't
constant.
escape you. You
Yeah,
can't,
you can't
you can
escape you.
run all over the country. You can try to, go from state to state, but
You
you're only
can't
running
outrun
from
yourself.
yourself.
Yeah, and
Exactly.
and that's what I would say personally. I think a lot of people are not only a lot of people's issues is they are trying to run from themselves, and also they feel purposeless and empty because they rejected God. But that's a whole nother thing, right? You know what I mean? But it's when you do those things again, it will absolutely make a world of difference in your marriage, and then again in all relationships in your life, right? Because you'll be able to just problem solve in a healthy way,
Mhm.
and you'll be better off for it, and I just yeah, I think I think you just hit the nail on the head with that, right? It's just you gotta always be self-reflecting, right? Always be like, what can I have done better? Where
Right.
did I maybe mess up today, right? Because and again, here's the thing, we all mess up. That's the funny
Mhm.
thing, like, when people get so strung up about being perceived as messing up. It's like it's okay. Like, you're human. Like, it's okay
Mhm.
to mess up. It's okay to be imperfect because we always will be. I mean, all fall short of the glory of God,
Yep.
right? But
Mhm.
it's then what do you do about it?
Yeah.
right? Because it's not this, oh, well, that's just how I am, right? This is me. You should accept me for who I am. No, the guy in the guy in the McDonald's drive-through accepts you for who you are, right? You and your family should not accept you for who you are. You should always want to be better
Yeah.
than what you were the day before. Because if you're not getting better, wow, what are you doing, right? Because it's like, it's a waves. It's like the waves on the beach, right? You're either moving towards where you're wanting to go, or you're moving away from it, right?
Mhm.
Whether again, marriage, career, whatever. Like you have to be consistently, actively going in that same direction, right?
Mhm.
Or you're just gonna be falling behind, right? I mean, again, like one of the greatest things or images I saw of marriage is, it's like, I think I've said this before too. It's like, if you think about like a triangle, right? It's you and your spouse at the two bottom corners,
Thank
and
God.
then God, right? And the only way it works is if you are both going together, right? Is how you
Mhm.
grow closer, right? If one is going one way, y'all are just out of sync, right?
Mhm.
And it'll happen in life, right? There's again, tragedies, things that
Yeah.
happen, right? But if you are both consistently going, right? Because, as you know, in the context of a Christian marriage, right, our goal is to get our spouse to heaven, right? And so you have to both continuously heading in that direction, and you will find that you will have a marriage that many people will be jealous and envious of,
Mhm.
and that's not the goal, right? Is to make people feel that way, right? But you will, right? Because even like now, Christine and I laugh, but like 6 7 years later, people will be like, "Ugh, like why do you guys still like each other? Why do y'all still all like lovey dovey and stuff?" It's like, I mean, I don't know, because I
It's
we
like they were
we
Because we're
hoping for
we
you to
we
like fall
active.
enjoyed
apart.
we enjoy being married to each other because we were both
Well,
intentional about what we were trying to do. You know what I mean?
absolutely, Taylor, and that so you nailed on something. It's like you guys asked me like what's the best
I
marriage
did. No.
advice? No, but like earlier we were like what's the best marriage advice or what's the worst marriage advice you've ever gotten? And I think that's honestly the thing. It's people's jadedness, right? Oh,
Oh yeah.
you know, just give it a couple years. And that's the same thing that people said for kids too. Just give it a couple
Yes.
years. And I'm like, okay, like what are you saying? I look at Carla and Carla's marriage with 11
Mhm.
freaking kids, okay? She is still trying to have sex with her husband. She is still trying to work on her relationship with her husband. They are so in sync and her
Mm-hmm.
family is in sync. I go, that's what I desire. That's
Yeah.
what
Mm-hmm.
I want. That's what I'm chasing. I don't care about what you have to say about your jaded relationship. Oh, don't worry, sis. Or I get, oh, you're just like freshly married, so you don't have any idea what 7 years down the road, 10 years down the road, 20 years. I'm like, you're right, I don't, but I'm also not going to take advice from you. I'm going to
Yeah.
take advice from the woman, from the
Who is
wife
successful?
that is
Yeah.
successful, that is
Mm-hmm.
living that life, and that's what I want. I don't want your marriage. I don't want your sexless marriage. I don't want to be roommates with my husband living under the
Mm-hmm.
same roof.
Mm-hmm.
I want to bring intimacy. I want to show my kids what love looks like because of my relationship with my husband. And that's why I put my husband first over my kids. And people don't like that, right? People don't
Oh
like me
yeah.
saying
Marriage
that.
first. Yep. No.
Marriage
100%.
first.
Yep.
And because first of
Yeah.
all, my kids are going to leave eventually. They're going to go, they're going to get married, and I'm stuck with him.
You don't
And
want to
I
be
don't
the
want to
empty
be
nester who like wakes up and be like, "Whoa, who are you again?"
Yeah.
exactly. And
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want to say I'm stuck. I want to say I'm thriving with him. I want to say that
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to like we laugh, we're like, "Oh, I'm going to have to pick up your dentures every time like we're talking about like like every time you try to do that, we're gonna pick up your dentures, or it'll be much better when I don't have teeth." So it's like we joke about these things all the time because it's like that's what I want. I don't want this like lackluster,
Right.
like he's just I'm just married to this. Or the way that they even talk about their husbands. If I hear women, if I hear wives talk about their husbands in a way, it's like, ugh, did you know what like Tom said about I'm like I don't want to hear from you. I don't care
Oh
what you have
yeah.
to say. If
Yeah.
that's how you're talking about your husband to other people, I'm good off of this conversation. I don't need to hear this. Like
But
keep
it's like
that
what's
to yourself.
expected. It's like that's the
Exactly. That's
women
the
Yeah.
just get together,
norm.
complain about their husbands. It's like,
Oh yeah, if I hear if someone is willing to complain about their spouse in confidence to me, I'm like, yeah, I'm not talking to you ever again. Like
I'm just
I'm
not
pushing you far
interested.
away. Yeah, I'm like I have no desire. I want nothing. I don't want you around me or my family, my
And
wife, whatever.
that's the thing is
Yeah.
that they expect you, like they think that they expect you to also have that same sentiment.
right.
Yeah, they want you to be like, oh,
It's like they go in a
yeah, I
circle
know.
and they
Yeah,
wait for
there's
you to
yeah,
contribute for
yeah. They're
like,
like, oh,
okay, what are
yeah.
you going to complain about? Like,
You're like,
it's
well,
always negative. It's
nothing.
like,
No, I'm not gonna say anything to you because it's none of your part of me. I'm like, it's kind of none of your business. So I'm not gonna talk to you about it. And but like to your point about jadedness too, it's like yeah, like we've had people that be like, oh, y'all are in the honeymoon stage. I'm like, yeah, I ain't got time for you. I'm not talking to you. Like whatever. Like I'm
It's like
out.
it's
well,
Like
don't
no.
get
it
me wrong. Your marriage is going to go through phases, of course.
Well,
100%.
yeah,
I've been through
but that's
phases,
different than
but
like it's just miserable all the time. It's like
right,
well, no.
no, it goes through phases. And looking back, I can say I've grown from every single one of them. But anybody who's going to say marriage is fun or easy, it's not. Marriage is work. Marriage is like the hardest thing I've ever done. Parenting is a breeze compared to marriage. And I think that's why marriage comes first, because marriage is more important and it takes
Hmm.
Mhm.
work, but you want it to be a partnership, because that's what it
Mhm.
is. You don't want to
Yeah.
be the only one putting in the work and the other person's not, because then there's an issue. And it goes back to what you were saying too, whether it's like resentment, or is there something going on with her or him that,
Mhm.
I'm not picking up on, that I can, find the root of something. Was it the kid today? Did they have a lot of stress? Or like, we have obviously a 5-month old, so I can tell some days it's like, oh, she must have not been able to nap today, because my wife
Mhm.
nurses, so she gets up kind of throughout the night. I can't really do too much. I try from time to time, or if she asks me,
You try nursing?
you'd be surprised.
We've gone
Anything's
woke,
possible
y'all.
today.
Yeah.
But no, so she tries to like nap during the day to kind of recoup on the nighttime.
Yes,
But sometimes the
absolutely.
baby doesn't let her nap during the day. So I can
Mhm.
come home and I'm just like, I come home and I can just feel it in the air.
Attention,
Like you're coming
yeah.
home, and you can either like hit that head on and be like, I'm not taking this. I don't deserve that. I've had a long day too. Or you can choose to pull up that extra weight too. But I mean, marriage is work, and that's what it's going to be. And I don't know, man.
It's
I love it.
and it's interesting that you say that too because like I am kind of adjacent to the red pill community and it's so interesting their take on marriage and I don't agree with it because it's like so tyrannical in a way like it's very like these are the rules and if she doesn't do I'm like you've clearly not been married or
Well, it's well, a lot of those guys are like, and this is no. I mean, I understand why the red pill thing has really gone, but it's like it's a lot of guys that really have not had any sort of interaction with a woman,
no
and
I know
again are nowhere near being married because it's like again, like you said, that from what they like that's just the
and
most
that's the
ridiculous
thing
thing I've
too
ever heard.
that's the thing too like the red pill is useful to understand female nature right like that's
Hmm.
what people say the red pill is for so understand female nature and understand how it plays into your life as a man because if you want to be in a heterosexual relationship in a marriage you're gonna have to deal with a woman for the rest of your life right
Hmm.
and like not deal but like you're gonna have to interact with her you're gonna have to understand her nature right like as women we're more romantic we're more creative we're more like in our creative side of our brain men are more logical they think about solutions they're very like solutions oriented so when you put us together that's when the magic happens you know what I
Right.
mean and so I think it's naive when you're in these spaces and it's like oh it's all her fault and I've never done anything wrong and I'm just like, bro, like, you don't know, like, have you been in a marriage? Have you been in a long term relationship? Do you not know what it's like living with a woman? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, and it's like they put women as like, oh, she always has to be peaceful and she always has to, do all these things and she has to cook clean, be fit from feminine and friendly. And that is true. However, there are days if you have kids, it's not so peaceful. right? It's not so tranquil. You don't just walk into the house and like birds are singing. You know what I mean? Like that might be the majority of your days.
Right.
That might be like a good portion of that. But yes, there are bad days. Just like you said, Taylor, you know, when we go through these seasons of breastfeeding, it is not so peaceful, right? Trust me, I was postpartum. I was not the most pleasant person to
When
deal
something's
with.
been clung to you all day and the last thing you want to
Yeah.
do is have your husband touch you too, it's like, okay, I'm touched out.
But you have to understand,
Yeah.
like, and what I think too for the message for men, it's like men need to understand these seasons as well. Like when I was pregnant, I was a completely like I was had a bunch of hormones. Like my husband understood that, you know what I mean?
Seasons.
And these seasons, these valleys, like
Yeah.
we have like we go through it, but then we get over it, and then we go into another season of life, and we grow and we learn from that. It's like, okay, I'm not going to make those same mistakes. I'm not going to eat those types of food because that made me more cranky. I'm not going to, you know what I mean? Like you start taking in that information and start
Right.
applying it so that in the next phase of your life, or if you have more children, okay, we have a better system around this, or whatever, like we know our roles now, or our roles have changed. And that's also what I've mentioned before, is like, especially with people complaining about, if both couples are, or both people in the couple are working full time. If both people, my husband is like walking into the room. He's
He's
like,
like, "Yo,
it's,
hey,
he's like, it's getting time.
it's that time. It's that
He's like,
time. Hey, I get it. I
he's
I
like,
get it." He's like, "Hey, we talked about this earlier, man. Like, come on."
It's like, now I need
Oh well,
you.
no. I don't say
couple.
the baby's asleep. The baby's asleep.
He's like,
Come
I'm
on.
not asking like the comments, I'm telling.
He literally like opened the door. It's like, what's going on? Like, let's go.
so,
I'll wrap it
so,
up
Mm.
by
yeah,
saying,
we'll wrap up. Yes.
but we go through these different seasons and we learn from other seasons, right? Like you can think about it in basketball and in
Yeah, when there's a
soccer
good
and
harvest and a bad harvest,
exactly, like
when to
you know
sow and
what
when to
you did,
harvest.
but you also know what you did in that was good and bad, and you can learn from every part and then apply it to the next season of your life. And if you are in a relationship that like you haven't been talking about what those roles look like, or okay,
Hmm.
you added another child to the mix, oh, you guys moved into a bigger house, jobs have changed. All of these things require that sit down or that conversation to be like,
Oh, for
okay,
sure.
things have changed, we need to figure out what our new system is, we need to trial this out. Like that's what marriage looks like,
Well,
and
ultimately,
people.
what you're saying is it's just comes down to communication. And if you
Exactly.
can't communicate in a healthy manner in a relationship, then it's destined to fail. And communication is never going to be fun. It's not going to always be easy. There's going to be some things where one person is going to get offended, but there's something that you feel like you have to communicate in
Hmm.
order to go forward. If this is truly going to last and this is going to be till death do us part, I need to say this and that I need to be heard. And it's going to upset the other person, but work with them, give them time to kind of, emotions aside, and they'll come back and then you can have a normal conversation. And then hopefully you can find that common ground and grow. But
Hmm.
I mean, my wife has come to me with a million things over the years. And I mean, I could have been hard headed over it or I could have been open minded. And I think you need to be open minded in order to grow.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So, on that note, because
Dude.
we could go for her, but Rebecca needs to go take care of her husband. All
Oh,
right, guys.
business, you heard?
Hey, you got to make babies, right? Like we always
Yes.
say, get married, make babies. That's all we got to do, right?
Yeah.
That's all you got to do. So, anyway, thank you so much, Rebecca, for coming on and talking with us. It was super awesome. It was fun. I know we'll do it again. You guys, again, you
Absolutely.
can check her out. I am Rebecca Barrett on YouTube and all the social media. Check out her YouTube channel. You probably already do because she has a lot more subscribers than we do. But if you, for whatever reason, don't, you should go check them out because they're very good stuff. And of course, you can follow us Instagram. You can find us on Apple, Spotify. Again, subscribe,
Mhm.
leave a comment, like, share, all that kind of stuff. We'll see you guys next week. Later.
Later.
Bye, guys.